So I'm going to tell you guys how to build in 10 minutes from scratch, not utilizing the Google API or anything, your own version of Google Maps. Now we're not going to rebuild a cluster or anything, we're just talking about the client side. Although the server side at the base level is just spewing out tiles as fast as it can, you could use your favorite clustering method to do that. So some reasons, Google Maps and Yahoo now and all these new Web 2.0 sort of map things aren't necessarily what you want to build all your apps upon. It might not even support the world you want to do. World of Warcraft, you might want to build a mapping server for that. And adding your own data on top of the maps isn't as easy as it should be, and also like replacing the tiles. It should be easy for you to go ahead and download the tiles, like maybe have your artist draw over what's important and then re-upload it, and then that's what's used by the users. So what we really want is a really easy to use mapping server / viewing client that can be customized at every level. And it would be great to have decentralized servings of tiles, because a lot of people who are interested in tiles from San Francisco are probably in San Francisco, so something like BitTorrent or some other protocol that works better on smaller files might be good. And so talk to the SWAT guys about integrating into their browser as soon as possible. So, so what is Dojo? If you weren't here last time, it's a JavaScript framework. It does a lot of stuff, widgets. Ask that guy if you want to know more. He's leading. It just does about everything you need in a nice, convenient package. And it's more. And if it doesn't do what you need already, it's really got a good way to add stuff. And we'll see how. We're gonna actually go through the code of actually building your map. So, what are our requirements? We want the same sort of nice interface, draggable, using your keyboard to arrow around, but we also want it to have a lot of, that's relatively easy. We're going to want to have all this other stuff, open data, open source, easily embeddable so that you can put it in your own web apps, put it in Thunderbird, put it in whatever applications you want as well, and easy extendable. We want it so artists can easily add tile data on top. Now what is the widget source? We have some initializing stuff, setting up where the scroll is, the zoom level, that we're not currently dragging. The current current time, which doesn't need to be there. I based this on Dylan's. I took Dylan's the date picker that he did for Renku, stripped everything out, and I missed that line. So then you see that we have this template path and template CSS path, and we're just telling this maps it pretty nicely for it, so we don't have to know the absolute path. That it's in source widgets, templates, HTML mapper, and this is the CSS. And then when the initialization happens, it just inserts this HTML with this CSS, and then it will run the code fill-in template so that it will do whatever initialization you have to do in code. So that's your constructor. Sorry. Okay. This is a little bit. I'm really going to show you all the code. It's going to be 3 pages. It's pretty simple. We just have to do so the first one is process key. It receives an event, and I'm sorry. Process. Let me start at the bottom 2. Key down and key up. When you press a key, key down happens. When you release, key up happens. So what I'm doing is, if you press up, I set that the scroll dy is going up by 1. And Alex just told me that I actually don't even have to use the key code, that you could use key name and make it a lot more readable instead of wondering what the heck is 38, 37, and 39 and all that. So I'm just setting the direction in dy and the direction in dx. And if you release one of the up or down keys, it will say you're not scrolling up or down anymore. And if you release the left and right, same thing. So what is this big mess at the top? It's really only 2 lines. We're grabbing this .mapper inner div, which is the inner div, and we're changing the style top location. So that's just moving it around. It's a little confusing because we have to, because of the way CSS always puts you have to put a measurement, units, so it's pixels. whereas when we do the mathematics, we have to remove the pixels. So really all this is saying is move it by 5 times whatever direction we're moving, up or down, left or right. And then at the end, we just call update tiles. Okay, dragging is very simple as well. All we have to do is when you press down, we just grab where you clicked and then figure out where the inner div is at what the current top is. And we store those locations and we say that we are dragging because and then anytime you move, the follow drag event occurs. And if we're actually dragging, we want to move the inner div as we're going. And it's just subtracting a few things. You just see how far the mouse has moved and then change your location based upon that. And then, the code is a little complicated again because we're dealing with pixels versus units. And stop drag, we just tell it that we're not dragging anymore so that anytime you move your mouse, this code block doesn't execute. Okay, and this is a little confusing. It's really not that complicated because all of this code is just adding an image tile. First X and first Y, we're just looking at where our CSS says the inner div should be located at, and we're calculating that each tile is 100 pixels, and we're just dividing and figuring out what the X and Y is. We're going to iterate through them in the first 2 for loops, and then we just set a tile ID, which is our X, our Y, and our zoom. And to make things simpler, we have the zoom levels pulled out, and we just create an image. If it doesn't already exist on our map, we create the image tile, give it the source, which is the PNG file, set the style to be in the right location, and then this is important that we say that don't ignore mouse dragging on it because we don't want it so when you click on on an image that it thinks you really want to, if you ever click on an image and then drag it, it thinks you're wanting to move that image. So that's just to stop that. And then we just add it. And that's everything. So it's not that complicated. The tiles are just a bunch of 100 pixels. We have, what I did was, I'm not from San Francisco, and when I needed to get around, I wanted to look at this huge this PDF provided by I don't know, some local government. So yeah, it was it was a megabyte PDF that every time you moved or zoomed, it took 20 seconds to redraw. So I went and on the first bus trip, went ahead and coded this in so I could move and zoom around. So there are some challenges that if we really want to make this something that is a community project, it needs to be scalable as far as the serving goes. Google said that the first day they released Google Maps, a third of their bandwidth was eaten just with Google Maps. So unless you're Google and you have we have to have a decentralized way to store these tiles, and tiles are really where, so that's why it would be good to have some sort of peer-to-peer network for tiles. We want to make it easy to add content for artists to be able to just download and add a scrollable map that just shows what they care about on their site. A backend for searching and storing of metadata, so you could actually search for locations, see animated trains moving around. There's actually some good projects to do this. This isn't as hard because Postgres has PostGIS that could do a lot of this for you, and there are other projects that don't have as good a UI that already do a lot of the back-end stuff. So if you're at all interested and you have artist skills, programming skills, or you just want to, what this is really a testament is how powerful the Dojo framework is. So it was just a fun project. Anybody have any questions? Or
what's your coordinate frame?
What's my coordinate frame? It's the coordinates in this one are 0, 0 just at the top, and it just moves down. There's no reason it couldn't actually be latitude and longitude. It was just because that's all I needed in this one. You could easily have a little function that would map lat and long to x, y, and y. So this was really just a proof of concept. So
have other people been using it?
No, I just did it. I got here last Friday, so did it on Monday. Yeah. So, yes.
I assume like the code's all downloadable somewhere.
It's not downloadable yet, and I've just joined contributing to Dojo, so if it's something that would be interesting to put in Dojo, it's something that. Okay, it will be there tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. That's like several hours from now. 23 and a half.
So actually, if you go to the site, you can just view source and get it all too.
Don't worry, we've been sniffing all the traffic on the network all night, so you can pick up your DVD at the end of the It's all okay.
So I also do have this little program that takes a huge PNG and that was written in Python.
Yeah.
So maybe I could get some chicks. Wait. So that's you weren't at the last talk. So that's that.